Okay, the stream is live.
Yes, I think just getting a go ahead from the team about the quality of our video as well. Uh,
Okay, good.
Good, we'll start.
Cool.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very special live session where we are going to try to find solutions for all your worries about MBA admission. You all know that getting into your dream school isn't just about test scores. Your application, your story, how you present yourself, all of this matters as well. And to help you navigate through this journey, we have a very special guest with us today, Ms. Shubhi Agarwal. Shubhi's journey is truly inspiring. She did her BTech from IIT Kanpur, started her career as a product manager at Sprinkler, and then moved to Propel, which we are all proud about, where she played a very key role in shaping product strategies. And today, she's pursuing her MBA from INSEAD, France, one of the world's top business schools. So stay tuned. This will be mostly an half an hour session. That's how we are planning it. And towards the last 10 minutes, we'll be taking questions as well. But as and when you have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat and we will take it up from there as well. Okay. Shubhi, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. Let's start this right away with the real question. What's harder? Cracking INSEAD's interview or pronouncing French menu items without embarrassing yourself?
Hey Surya, hey everyone. So Surya, thanks for the introduction. It's an honor to be here. Well, to answer your question, I have been out just once and I ordered Mexican, so maybe that answers your question. Yeah.
Is that giving us a space to talk about how time constraint is in France where you were studying?
Uh, that is a good point because I think INSEAD especially is a very crunched program because it's just 10 months compared to 2-year MBA
Two
programs. So
years.
definitely
Yes.
it's very hectic. That's true for sure. But it also answers your question. It's so difficult to order rather than
I am
yeah.
not getting into dish names because I myself will pronounce them wrong. Okay, so
Yeah.
start with the one of the most pressing question or one thing that we have repeatedly seen people asking is beyond your GMAT, JRE, or CAT scores and work experience as well. What really moves the needle for MBA admissions, especially in top schools?
Um, so I would say A in we are talking about application, right? So A is your extracurrics, right? So extracurricular activities. Now that has no boundary as such. It could be that, you were working in some NGO, like you were working in some education related NGO, or you've been playing sports, right? You've been playing sports and you've played competitions. It could also be you have an Instagram page which has a million followers and you're promoting your philosophy or things that you believe in. The idea is how you are able to relate your learnings and the strengths you developed from doing all these extracurriculars, and you have to like sort of tie it into your story, how that adds value to the kind of person you are, because it is also about how you will contribute to the cohort and class. That's why it's important how those different dimensions have added to your personality.
Understood. So it's about, so what I understood is they are going to analyze you more on your mindset, and your stories are going to be basically mean to explain your mindset as well to them, to an audience who is seeing you for the first time.
Um, I would say that yes, your story would be the medium to put your strengths and your qualities out there. You know, what are the things that you will bring to the cohort? Uh, because especially most B schools abroad, they are very focused on diversity. They want to bring people from diverse cultural backgrounds, diverse educational work experience, and diverse extracurricular backgrounds as well. So, your story is a means to convey what are the things you're bringing to the school, in short, yeah.
Understood. So, just as a follow-up question,
Yeah.
you were actually there in the dean's list,
Yeah.
which is basically the 10% of the cohort.
Mhm.
Um, can you tell us what made you stand out? As in, what do you think made you stand out? So that anyone in the audience can also probably take bit from there and replicate.
Uh, just to bring the understanding of Dean's List correct here, right? So Dean's List is released after our exams. So it is based on our academic performance in the school. So
And
it is not based on our application, rather it
application.
is, yeah, it is based on our academic performance once we have joined the MBA program.
Understood. And what's a weightage like, as in the test score and let's say your application? What's a weightage?
Uh, it is not disclosed anywhere, like publicly, what exactly is the weightage. I would say it is not 70-30, definitely like 70-30 on either side. And I would also add to that that it varies from school to school. Uh, some schools focus more on your application because your application talks more subjectively about yourself, your strengths, your weakness, your whys, your motivations, while your scores and your college CPA might just be a very, very objective criteria to a very subjective thing. So it varies from school to school. The weightages are not publicly disclosed. So, yeah.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the other questions that we have in the chat box as well, and one of that I wanted to take it up as well, since we are in the topic of application, is
Yeah.
uh, how does someone really write an SOP that stands out without getting lost in the crowd? And how do one really strategically craft it, also keeping that authenticity of themselves and what they want to put in there?
Um, so I think the first word that comes to my mind when it comes to crafting your application, which stands out, is making a very coherent story. So for example, you, let's say, played some kind of sport since you were a kid at, yeah, and eventually you started playing at national level, right? And then maybe you did your, I'm just giving a random example. Maybe you did your engineering and then you joined a tech company. And then you started working in, I don't know, some sport tech industry. And then you started your own business which is in this industry, right? So there are many ways how you can tell this story, but if you are writing an MBA application, you have to connect this story. How you started playing sport, what inspired you, what are those strengths, what are the strengths you developed from playing sports, then what are the strengths you gained by doing engineering, how you got into tech, like why you got into a tech industry, how that tech industry made you realize that this can be such a key player in, making your impact wider. And then you married both your interest and joined a sport tech industry. But in the end, you wanted to be on more on entrepreneurial side. So you continued that interest, you gathered all the strengths along the way, and then joined started your sport related company. So I'm not saying it will always be a very direct story. I gave a very simple example. But having said that, there are always ways in which you can make a coherent story. So the what I see in a lot of applications missing as people approach me to get their application reviewed is that they just tell things in pieces. I did this, then I did this, then I did this. What is important is the connection between both the things. The whys, what kept driving you, what you kept gaining in the way, and how is that connecting to MBA? How is that connecting to what you want to do in future? So that is the key essential aspect of MBA application.
So nothing should be left random. Your decisions should seem like should look like you've planned it, as in
Yes,
it's all connected, and your strengths are adding up all the time you are doing the new thing. Understood. I
exactly.
think that
Yeah.
that also gets replicated to the interview as well, right? Moving on to next, I guess
Right.
interview is also a place where you get a lot of unexpected curveball questions in MBA, which is one of my question. How do you really tackle those? But also, what are the other things that you take care of while you are in an MBA interview? Um, on that thought, can you also share a few of the questions that you faced and how did you tackle it?
Okay. So let's start from curveball question. One of the questions which I had not really prepared for, and I got asked in my INSEAD. So in INSEAD, the interviews have no defined length because they are face-to-face interviews. They can go on for 3 hours. So you, I mean, all kinds of questions can be asked because it's a infinitely long conversation. So I was asked if I what nationality I liked working with more and which nationality I absolutely disliked working with and why. So I think these questions are very challenging because it is not good to speak ill of anyone, right? That might be taken against you. So it translates to a lot of ways why you left the company. So, you don't have to sort of say ill about that company per se, but rather your alignment with the company, right? So I addressed it in a way that because I am like from India and I am used to being surrounded by warmer crowd, like people who are more friendly and people who just are invested in your day-to-day business. So that is why I found Germans on a bit, reserved side, and maybe Italians a more friendly side, but that is just my take because I come from this kind of warm, warm community. So that's how you address it. You always make it why it was not in your alignment or your preference, not the other person per se. So this extends to lot of in a lot of ways, to the interviews. So that's one way you can handle curveball questions. What was the other question, Surya, about interviews?
As in general, how do you prepare yourself for a top school interview? We are, as in globally, be it be the B schools in India or be it be top school B schools outside.
Yeah. So I think there are key questions. There are a list of key questions. If you want, I can share it. I have a list prepared. But there are key questions. Why MBA, right? You should know, like, I mean, you should know it. Why, right? You should
That's
know,
expected, I guess. You should at
yeah.
least know that.
You should know why now. Why you want to do it now? What prepares you for doing an MBA now? Or, I mean, why not after 2 years, right? Um, Third, you should know what are your short-term goals. You should know clearly what are your long-term goals, like, and how those are aligning with MBA. It shouldn't be that I want to do an MBA and I don't know. My short-term goal after MBA is to go on, I don't know, climb Mount Everest. I mean, that's not aligning, right? You'd rather go to a mountaineering institute. So it should align. That is very key. Third thing, you should have. I always say this, that practice and mirror to have that 1.5 minute elevator pitch ready. Like, who are you as a person? Who are you? Your In that you can cover a quick about like your upbringing, like, if there's something that stands out, then your profession in that, ensure that you say why you switched from things, not just chop, 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 I did this. And then something about your extracurriculars, what you did, what you still do beyond work. So I think that is 1.5 minute. Who are you should be ready. Your strengths, weaknesses should be ready. What are your key two strengths? What are your key two weaknesses? And there are like ways how you should do it, how you should not do it. We can get into details as whatever time permits. Um, Achievement, failure. What is your biggest achievement? What is your biggest failure? That should be ready. Another important part is when you are telling stories in interviews, because you'll apply in 100 places and you'll be confused, like, what did I write in this application, what did I not. Make sure if you are lying, telling the same lie in the interview as you said in that application. Last bit that should be ready is why that particular location, like, that actually goes for abroad, because they always have this question that why this particular location, why not Europe, why not Singapore, why not US, right? Uh, so those are high level things that should be ready.
Understood. So if you're bluffing, be ready to bluff throughout.
Yeah, I agree. Fake it till you make it.
But also, I mean, don't they grill you to the max to actually find out you're bluffing or not as well? Or safe? Or is it something that we shouldn't talk about right now?
I would just say that most schools take just 30 minutes online interview, right? Most schools take 30 minutes online interview. It's just, as far as I know, I might be wrong, but it's just LBS and INSEAD which have in-person interview. Um, and I would say I would say that you spend so much time preparing your application and writing that same, lie again and again, that your brain actually starts believing that that lie is truth and you nail in the interview.
Awesome. That's a real tip, Shubhi. I am pretty sure audience will love that tip.
Yeah.
Sure. So one of the other questions that has come on our comment box is value and ROI, which is an
Mhm.
MBA worth the investment, and how does it impact your salary and career trajectory, and what is the ideal age for doing it, and work experience is really required before pursuing an MBA. These are the set of questions that has come in. So I think we'll quickly cover one by one, starting with ROI.
Okay. So, see, I would say ROI is a very, very personal metric, how much you can invest and what is the, return on investment that you're expecting. Um, I am not even sure, honestly, that how calculative you can be on this. It depends, right? I don't know if you decide to do MBA from US and you are ready to work in US for next 10 years, then you might have, quote unquote, financially a great ROI. Again, I would say ROI is a very subjective thing. I can just tell you there are few factors that you can consider, but that is not an exhaustive list. One is definitely salary. Second is where you want to work after that. Like, if you want to work in Middle East, then maybe an INSEAD MBA should be a better option, or NUS MBA should be a better option. Um, Another thing that is that, culturally, also, I think ROI needs to be evaluated. That as a cultural fit, do you feel like, staying in this particular location? I think that is also a huge part of ROI. Uh, yeah, so I would say it's a very subjective thing. What are your long-term plans? What are your short-term plans? What are your personal preferences? It's not a very objective answer. Yeah.
So, as
Yeah.
in, what I understood from what you said is ROI is not just about the
Yeah.
investment in terms of money that you make and the return of investment that you get in terms of money. It's also
Yeah.
a lot of things in terms of what kind of job that you want to do, where you want to know, the kind of people that you want to meet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, all of those, the network also adds up to your net worth, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
in
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, ROI is a very subjective term. Yeah.
subjective term. People have to self-analyze on what exactly do they want out of an MBA rather than
Yeah.
looking at very monetary terms.
Exactly.
Great, great, Shobhi. One of the very subjective question that has come in on the comment box is, can I convert cap calls with 87.37 percentile in CAT? So, as in, I'm pretty sure, as in, you wouldn't be exactly able to say, but I mean, out of the all the applications that you have made, what do you think about a cap call from 87.37 percentile that would category EWS?
I'm sorry. What is a cap call?
Uh, I am calls.
Okay. Uh, Honestly, I am absolutely unaware about this. I'm so sorry. I have no idea about this.
I'm pretty no problem. I'm pretty sure it's a very
I can
subjective.
speak about ISB. I can speak about ISB for sure when it comes through GMAT, because I've helped a friend recently, through that process. But it'll be, yeah.
I think on that note, we have another question, which is ISB or FMS. Either comparative or you can talk about ISB on its own as well.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say ISB's application is very similar to the things that I was saying before, that I have seen the questions in ISB. And in ISB, I would say uh, that in some schools, the college CPA is given a lot of weightage, but I mean, again, the weightages are not publicly displayed, but from what I saw amidst my friends getting interviews and all, college CPA does not have that high of a weightage. The application itself and GMAT score has more weight, is first thing. Second thing, in ISB, most of the rules I said about the coherent story, about knitting in your extracurriculars, your long-term goals, short-term goals with your strengths and work experience, and the why of your MBA, and what are the long-term goal aligning, what are you bringing to the cohort. So those are the key things in the application, and if you do that well and a good GMAT score, I think that should be uh, fine for ISB applications. Yeah.
Understood.
I cannot comment on FMS. I have no idea. Yeah.
No problem. So other question that has come in is I mean, is there a real, I mean, is there a fixed age by which you are supposed to go for MBA, or how do you look at it? When do you look at it? If you're planning, if you are in college doing your undergrad as well, when do you really plan it? Do you really have to like work for a few years and then go for it? So what's your comment on planning MBA, when to do it?
Uh, See, I would say that, okay, we'll break it into pieces, right? So let's say that you want to apply, okay? You want to apply, so we are in February, okay? Let's say you want to apply next year, September. Next year, September intake, you want to apply, right? So This year, September, your preparation should start. And that includes everything, preparing for GMAT, start talking to alumni, everything, right? So it's that 1 year cycle. And then next September, you'll apply. And then year after that, you'll get in, right? So between applying and starting a preparation, at least through GMAT, take that 1 year in. Okay, so that is one timeline that I would say it will give you enough time to make a good application. It will give you enough time to add on things, to do something extra that needs to be done to make your application better, right? So that take that 1 year, I would say, between applying and starting your prep. Um, Work experience wise, again, a lot of 2 year MBA programs have people who have worked for 1.5 year, 2 year, because the 2 year MBA program generally preferred by a more younger set of
Okay.
people. 1 year program, typically people are more experienced. Typically, average age experiences, average work experiences, 5 to 6 years. So that's like about average age is 28, 29. Having said that, in there are outliers. There are people with 12 years experience. There are people with 2 years experience. So there are outliers, but in 1 year programs you will have typically people with more experience. Having said that, at what age do you think you should apply? There are people who start preparing for CAT in college and who go to one of the IMs straight out of college, right? But I would say that in MBA, one of key learning aspect is also that people come from varied work experience and you can learn from their work experience. For example, you're working on a project and there is an investment banker in your group, in the group project group, right? So there's and you, let's say you're coming from engineering background, right? So from that project itself, project group itself, you are learning a lot because you're working with an investment banker directly on that finance project or whatever it is, right? So the idea is that it's your choice. If you it's definitely your choice. Schools always have outliers, they'll prefer people with some kind of work experience because they want people to add value to the cohort. But
Yes.
also, let's say you've already started your company in when you were in college, then you are already ready with experience to apply, soon out of college, or you've been running an NGO since last 12 years or whatever, right? So as soon as you're out of college, but you should have undergraduate degree for sure.
Understood. So I guess another question that has come in is around, as in, it's a very subjective question of yours, which is how has INSEAD changed your perspective on business, leadership, and life?
It's a good question, actually. It's a very subjective question again, but and again, it's my opinion. So I, as a person, I never read economics or Financial Times. I had no idea about what's going on, the geopolitical situation. And I think because in MBA there are core courses on macroeconomics and prices and markets and basics of finance, and then electives on advanced finance, etc. Um, Once you start studying all those things, right? At least once I started studying all those things, and because we are taught through a lot of case studies, so the core medium of teaching is that in every class we have one case study that we have to prepare and come, and then that is discussed and we learn through that. So I would say that reading those cases, discussing those cases, and learning the basic concepts of economics, etc., actually made me understand businesses, made me understand a lot better, not everything. Understand finance, understand why. is, let's say basics, like why is tax rate reduction impacting? How is it going to impact? How a tariff policy is going to impact basic things, right? So I would say, in general, I feel that I understand businesses better now. I understand I am in a better place to make better calls, to assess things. Be it, deciding to join a company, be it deciding to invest in a particular stock, right? It could be anything. I am more informed to answer your question. And that is why, when you're more informed, at least me, I feel more confident. And I would say, when I return back to work, I will be able to return as a more confident person. Yeah.
I think that's why most of the workplaces prefer MBA candidates as well, because MBA entirely is about preparing you to make better decisions,
Yeah.
informed
Evidence.
decisions, strategic as well.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, it's not just in work; it's in your entire life that you're getting a chance to structure things and take a very informed decision.
Yeah.
Um, be it beyond choosing a stock as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I guess we are almost coming to the end of the session. So, everyone who is watching, if you guys have any other questions, please put it down. Um, okay, there is another question that has come in, which is, what would you do if your post MBA job expectations don't align with reality? Uh, I think again, I think Shubhi is yet to reach there to really, really comment on that. But still, if you have any thoughts, you can share, or you can pass to not comment on it as
Actually,
well.
actually, for me, it has been the contrary. Like, for first month, I definitely had that anxiety. What if, job does not pay enough to pay back the loan and stuff like that. But I would say, the more confident you become with your own abilities, the more relaxed you become about the whole job scenario. Because now you are not dependent on who will choose me. You become more like, whom will I choose? Who will I choose? Whatever. So, to answer this particular question, this anxiety itself has faded away. So I do not have any anxiety. And what will I do? I will just, there is no expectation, there's no reality. There are just choices, and I will just make a informed choice. That's all. Yeah.
Understood. So, Jalanthar, the one who asked the question, to philosophically answer it would be no to have this question in mind. Like, probably work on eliminating that doubt from you altogether so that you become confident and start working on as well on, it's not like I'm not going to get what is expected. I am going to get what is expected. I'm going to work for it. Easier said than done, but
I
yeah,
agree.
I guess the best way to go for is to work on the question and eliminate it itself.
Yeah,
Understood. Uh,
absolutely.
Shubhi, I guess as we are reaching the end of the session, probably we will um, end it with a rapid fire round for everyone.
Okay,
And
let's try
you,
that.
yeah, you can choose to not answer the questions as well if you don't want to.
Perfect.
Uh,
Yeah.
Starting with the first rapid fire question, which is the most overrated MBA interview tip.
That you have to speak very confidently.
Mhm.
Yeah. Or do you want me to
It,
elaborate on it?
no, no, no. It's a rapid fire. You can just
No?
close with.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it doesn't really matter if you speak confidently or not, but you can have the fear and
It is,
you can express the fear as well.
yes.
Okay. Hope we are not misleading people here, but still, let's keep some confidence in your shoulder, guys.
Yeah, yeah, of
Take,
course, of course. Yeah.
second rapid fire is which one is tougher, getting into INSEAD or surviving INSEAD?
um, I would say getting into INSEAD.
Getting into
Yeah,
INSEAD makes
getting
sense.
in. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so for everyone who is aspiring for NCR, the toughness ends there. Probably surviving is much more easier. So you guys are probably going through the harder part now for the better part later.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you could sit in any of the top three schools in India right now, which one would it be?
Sorry, can you repeat your question? I lost you.
If you could sit in any of the top three schools in India right now, which one would you choose?
I think I would go with I am Ahmedabad. Yeah, yeah,
Obvious choice.
yeah.
Awesome. I guess with that, we have come to the end of the session. And
Perfect.
just going through the chat box just to see if I've missed any of the questions as well. Cool. Looks good.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Why don't we close with a closing remark on one piece of advice for anyone who is applying for top schools this year? And what would that be?
I would say if you're not feeling confident about your application, that you don't feel that this is good enough. I mean, you could maybe you've done it in a lot of rush, or you're just doing some, last minute work and you did not really take a consultant and you're not confident about your own work. Don't submit that application, is what I personally feel, because it is okay to apply next year, but again, fact check again, but from what I researched, most of the schools are not very reapplicant friendly. So make your one best shot. It is okay that if you apply in round two, if you apply in round three, if you don't feel confident, maybe improve the application. Yeah.
So the usual advice would be don't aim for perfection, but if you're an MBA aspirant, please do aim for perfection.
I would say, you can't really aim for perfection, but you can at least judge for yourself that I don't think this application is good enough. I can put more effort, but the deadline is next week. What do I do? Probably apply in round two. If you think you can improve it, apply in round two. Yeah.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Shubhi, with that, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for sharing all your valuable experiences and comments on the questions that we asked. And thank you, everyone who has joined in for the session as well. It was truly like a proud moment to have you here after you have been part of the Propel family as well. So, thank you so much for coming back, Shubhi.
Thank you, Surya. Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.